You won't believe how one quiet compliment from Morgan Freeman can turn into a career-defining blessing. Think about it. The man whose voice sounds like wisdom itself, the calm in chaos, the conscience in the room, stops, smiles, and says, "That performance moved me." Now imagine you're the actor on the receiving end of that. Goosebumps, right? We know Freeman as the narrator of our collective memory, as God in the movies, as a face you trust even when the story gets dark. But what he does just as powerfully and maybe even more meaningfully is point to the people who inspired him first. He remembers who unlocked doors, who stood fast when it mattered, who took big swings so others could take bigger ones. Today we're walking through 6 names Freeman holds close. 6 artists he praises, not with empty flattery, but with the reverence of a craftsman who understands what it costs to do this work well. If you love acting, this is a masterclass, and if you love stories, you're about to hear some of the very best. Let's set the scene. Freeman didn't start at the top. He knows what it's like to wait, to be told not your turn, to carry a part that doesn't give you much space and still try to make it sing. He learned to make every second count, and along the way, he watched other performers do things he couldn't shake from his mind. Some taught him control, some taught him courage, some showed him how to be a leading man when the industry wasn't ready to let him be one. All of them, in one way or another, helped build the foundation he stands on today. So, who are they? Let's begin with the one who stirred both admiration and just a little envy. Denzel Washington. Freeman talks about him with the kind of respect you reserve for a peer who cracked a code you were handed too late. He's said, in that measured, unhurried way of his, that he wished he'd had the same range of leading roles at the same time in his career that Denzel did. That's not bitterness, it's honesty. It's a veteran acknowledging how the industry shifted, and how Washington's rise signaled a new era. Denzel could headline thrillers, moral dramas, big epics, intimate character studies, no ceiling, no narrow lane. The roles were muscular and complicated. The characters could be flawed and magnetic at once. Freeman recognized that spectrum and admired it, because he knows the difference between getting a shot and getting the right shot, and their professional paths intersected early in a way that felt larger than one film credit. In that Civil War drama about a black regiment fighting for a country that didn't always fight for them, you could feel 2 currents running parallel. Denzel's combustible intensity and Freeman's steady authority. Separate rhythms, same heartbeat. The impact went beyond awards or box office. It was the sense that these 2 men could carry stories that weren't being told loudly enough, that they could anchor the kind of roles younger actors would one day consider normal. Freeman later saluted Washington publicly with warmth and pride, and the respect flowed back. That's the thing with these 2. When one wins, the other claps like family. And if you pay close attention, you can hear Freeman's subtext whenever he speaks about Denzel's career. This is what happens when doors stay open, when talent isn't fenced in. Gene Hackman, when Freeman speaks about him, there's a softness around the edges, the kind that shows up when you're talking about an old friend who never needed the spotlight to prove anything. They didn't share 100 sets, but they shared the right one. In that spare, brutal Western that stripped the myth off the cowboy and left you with the man, Hackman's sheriff was as unnerving as he was unforgettable, and Freeman's quiet, loyal partner grounded the story's soul. 3 towering presences, Freeman, Hackman, Eastwood, circling each other like weather systems, each one bringing a different kind of storm. What moved Freeman most wasn't just Hackman's ferocity on screen. It was his humility off it. No fuss, no circus, no need to polish a brand. When Hackman stepped away from Hollywood, he did it the way he worked, decisively, without noise. Freeman admired that. He admired the refusal to be trapped by adoration, the choice to let the work speak and then let it rest. He stood on stage to honor Hackman before, voice touched with that rare emotion he usually holds close, and you could feel that this wasn't professional courtesy. It was personal gratitude. For Freeman, Hackman represents a kind of acting that hits like truth. Not flashy, but precise. Not loud, but indelible. The kind you can't copy because the only way to do it is to be fully, fiercely yourself. Jack Nicholson. You can hear the grin in Freeman's voice as soon as the name comes up. For years, Nicholson wasn't just an actor he admired. He was a white whale, a dream project waiting to happen. Freeman has joked that he would have made a wild trade just to share a set with Jack, and when the right script finally came along, a story about 2 men looking death in the eye and deciding to live anyway, it felt like the universe making good on a promise. The beauty of watching them together was the sheer ease of it. Freeman's stillness met Nicholson's voltage, and somehow they both amplified each other without stepping on each other's toes. You could tell they were having fun, but you could also tell how seriously they took the craft. Jack tinkered with lines until they tasted right. Freeman found the precise temperature for emotion and kept it steady. What Freeman loves about Nicholson goes beyond any one movie. It's Jack's appetite for risk. He never played it safe, ever. He was wild without being sloppy, dangerous without being careless, a master of walking to the edge of the cliff and then delivering a line like he built the cliff himself. Freeman respects that bravery. Because to be fearless doesn't mean you shout the loudest. It means you trust your choices so deeply that the audience can't help but follow. Off camera, they traded admiration for admiration, talked about the roles that got away, the roles that surprised them, the ones that scared them, just enough to say yes. Working with Nicholson wasn't just a credit for Freeman, it was a milestone. The kid who once stared at a movie screen, mesmerized by Jack's audacity, got to stand beside him and call action. Anthony Hopkins, if Freeman has a word for him, it's master. Not of spectacle, but of restraint. Freeman has praised Hopkins for what he can accomplish without lifting his voice, for how the smallest tilt of the eyes can speak louder than a monologue. Freeman first felt that spell watching a performance that seemed almost impossible. Emotion, held like water in the palm, never spilling, never forced. It taught him something he kept. Stillness isn't absence, it's density. It's knowing exactly how little you have to do to make everything else in the scene vibrate. When they worked side by side in a historical drama about freedom argued in courts and fought in the human spirit, Freeman saw up close how Hopkins builds a moment from the inside out. No theatrics, no self-indulgence. Just absolute clarity, take after take. Hopkins didn't choose scenery, he engraved it. That approach resonated with Freeman because he shares the same suspicion of overacting. Both men trust silence. Both believe that if you're honest, the camera will find you. And both understand that courage in acting is often the choice not to push. Freeman has called Hopkins the pinnacle of minimalism, a performer who can make you lean in by barely moving. Want to learn how to be powerful without shouting? Watch Anthony Hopkins. Freeman certainly did. Michael Caine. With these two, the admiration comes wrapped in laughter. They don't just work well, they enjoy each other, and you can hear it whenever they sit side by side. Caine has that old-school British cool, that sly timing where the punchline slips in like a secret, and Freeman delights in it. On set, they trade glances that say more than words. In interviews, they finish each other's sentences and tease like brothers who discovered the same cheat codes to surviving show business with your sanity intact. Freeman often points to Caine's control as the thing that blows him away. Watch closely, and you'll see how Caine steals a scene without ever grabbing it. It's in the pause before the retort, the way he turns his head a beat later than you expect, the moment he looks away instead of hamming it up. That kind of precision takes nerve because it means trusting that the audience will catch what you don't underline. Freeman loves that. He lives by it too, which is probably why their chemistry happens so naturally. Neither one needs to elbow the other out of the frame. The friendship is real, not just PR. They've shared jokes on planes, traded notes on scripts, and talked openly about the new rule of life at this stage. Only say yes to the parts that are impossible to refuse. Freeman's admiration for Caine isn't odd idol worship. It's the nod of one craftsman to another who has kept his toolkit sharp for decades. Sidney Poitier. Now we arrive at the name Freeman speaks with something beyond praise. Gratitude. Poitier is the North Star in Freeman's sky, the man who made the idea of a different career possible, long before the industry had the nerve to imagine it. Before Freeman was anyone's favorite narrator, before he could choose a role instead of waiting for one to appear, Poitier was out there refusing to play small. He selected characters that carried dignity like armor, intelligent, principled, complicated in ways that refused every cheap stereotype. He insisted on being seen fully, and he was. Freeman has said that Poitier mentored him long before they ever shook hands. That's the power of a pioneer. You don't have to meet to be guided. You watch the work. You watch the choices. You watch the moments that make a room go silent, like when a black man in a southern mansion returns a slap in broad daylight and you realize you've just watched the tectonic plates of culture shift a fraction of an inch. Poitier's courage lived both on the screen and behind it. He didn't just accept what was offered, he drew a line and said, "This far is not far enough." He paid for that stance. He also changed everything with it. Freeman keeps Poitier's example close because it's not just about performance, it's about posture, how you carry yourself, how you practice excellence without apology, how you treat the work like a legacy you'll hand to the people coming behind you. Over the years, Poitier collected honors, yes, but the shine that mattered most wasn't the medal. It was the mirror he held up to the industry. He showed producers and audiences and young actors what a black leading man could be, what he should be. Freeman stepped through a door Poitier braced open with both hands, and he never forgets to look back and say, "Thank you." You might be thinking, that's a stunning list, but what does it actually tell us about Freeman? Everything. Listen to the patterns. He loves precision more than volume. He admires courage wrapped in grace. He's drawn to actors who make dangerous choices without making a mess. He respects humility, the decision to let the work live outside the noise. And above all, he honors those who built a path where there wasn't one. It's easy to start a career by asking, who can I impress? Freeman's journey suggests a better question. Who do I owe? Who showed me the way? When he praises these six, he's not just handing out compliments. He's mapping the DNA of his own craft. Now, because we're telling the full story, consider what links many of these heroes together. They all have a relationship with silence. Denzel uses it like a fuse, a quiet that warns you something is about to explode. Hackman carries it like a loaded pause, a dare for you to blink first. Nicholson turns silence into mischief, a smirk you can hear. Hopkins sculpts it into shapes so precise you barely notice you've been cut. Caine slips it between words so the line lands inside you a beat late. And Poitier? He wore silence like a crown, dignity that didn't need to shout. Freeman learned from each of those shades. You can hear it in his own performances. The calm that isn't passive. The restraint that isn't empty. That's not an accident. That's inheritance. There's another thread, friendship. So much of this list isn't just admiration from afar. It's work done shoulder to shoulder. It's after hours conversations on a studio plane. It's traded advice between takes. It's seeing your colleague do something so true you forget to breathe, then telling them so later, man to man, not into a microphone. Freeman gives credit privately and publicly, because credit is how you keep a tradition alive. He'll say the names out loud so younger actors can hear them, write them down, go watch the films, and understand the quiet rules of old-school excellence. Show up prepared, stay generous, hit your mark, leave your ego at the door. If you're an actor watching this, there's a lesson in each name. From Denzel, claim range without asking permission. From Hackman, be fearless and then walk away clean when the chapter ends. From Nicholson, risk big but control the chaos. From Hopkins, let the smallest gesture do the heaviest lift. From Caine, polish your timing until it feels like instinct. From Poitier, hold the line on dignity, always. Put all that together and you get the Morgan Freeman we know. A performer who makes gravity look effortless, who can turn a single sentence into a memory, who treats the audience with respect by never underestimating what they'll pick up if you give them space to feel it. Now, let's land this plane. In a business that runs on hype, Freeman's praise is a rare currency. He doesn't hand it out to trend, he hands it out to truth. These six artists shaped him, and through him, they've shaped us. Think about the scenes you still carry. The sheriff who smiles while the world burns, the teacher with a razor-wit comeback, the lawyer who argues justice into existence, the soldier whose eyes say more than his lines, the rebel whose grin asks you to follow him over the edge, the dignified man who wouldn't step back when history told him to. We return to those moments because they help us make sense of ourselves. Freeman knows that. It's why he names names. Gratitude is memory with purpose. If this journey through Morgan Freeman's heroes gave you a new way to watch your favorite movies or a fresh respect for the artist who built the bridge others now walk, do me a favor. Send this to someone who loves film the way you do. Drop a like if you felt that hush in your chest at any point today. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into the legends who make the screen feel alive. And tell me in the comments which performance from these six made you stop and think, that's it, that's how it's done, I'll be reading. Until next time.